Exclusive contracted novel by Falun Novel Network. Just after wearing Marvel, she was spotted by a beautiful widow Lin E, because he knew too much, did not go to the underworld after death, but instead entered the Marvel world. In order to live well and add to his personal bad taste, he started a gossip website. As the saying goes, if someone who likes to die wants to not die, they must truly not die. So, Lin E, who had the ability to replicate, crazily replicated all the abilities that Marvel World could replicate on his own. Those troubles he deliberately caused are all coming to his door. But how could he not be killed? Lin E. I just like to see the ridiculous way you guys want to fight but can't kill me. Falun Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Beautiful widow Sister Natasha voluntarily comes to her door and rushes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At night, hidden in an underground bar in a deep street alley. A handsome man with a mysterious Eastern face lazily leaned against the dark sofa at the innermost corner. One on the left and the other on the right are two beautiful foreign girls. Lin, do you know what I'm wearing inside today? The girl with short brown hair was mesmerizing with her deep green eyes as she gazed at the oriental man in front of her, who was making her crazy. My favorite. Black lace. Lin E hooked his lips, pinched the girl's chin, and gave a deep kiss. The brown short-haired girl's whole body couldn't stop trembling with excitement. After a kiss, it angered the beautiful woman sitting on the other side of Lin E with golden waves. Lin, it's my turn to ask. What the hell, Hill? Lin Mingming said one person and two questions, I'm not finished yet. Then you quickly ask. You don't care if I ask. Anyway, tonight Lin is my own. The two women had a heated argument with Lin E, but Lin E didn't care at all. He held his glass and took a soft sip. The bar is still bustling here. On the other side, a woman with wine-red long hair and an angelic and exquisite appearance appeared in this bar. She wore a royal blue dress that was incredibly slim-fitting, making her figure even more curvaceous. As soon as she appeared, she attracted all the men in the bar. The other women present instantly paled against her backdrop. One of the handsome men tidied up his cuffs and walked straight towards the woman. Beautiful lady, I wonder if I have the honor of treating you to a glass of Bloody Mary. The beautiful woman glanced at him, then lifted her red lips lightly. In the man's expectant gaze, her voice was soft yet somewhat icy. Where is Lin E? A sentence made all the men present couldn't help but sigh in disappointment. My God, these are the few women who came to find Lin. What a lucky man. I really don't know where he met so many excellent women, maybe I should learn from him. If you have his ability to guess a woman's heart, perhaps you will also be popular, but unfortunately, such ability is not something you want to have. The men whispered to each other while pointing their way to the beautiful woman with an angelic face and a devilish figure. Lin is at the bottom, and the most prominent one is him. Thank you. The woman gave a simple thank you, then crossed the crowd and walked towards the innermost position. It's really eye-catching, you can see it at a glance. Lin E, can you take a step to speak? The woman looked down at Lin E, her beautiful eyes sparkling with a cold light. The girls sitting around Lin E were somewhat dissatisfied with this. First come, second served. Do you understand? Don't think that just because you're beautiful, you can easily cut in line. Before he could finish speaking, he saw Lin E, who was originally lazy, slowly stand up from the sofa and say, of course, my dear. Miss Natasha. Lin E, who stands up, is over 1.9 meters tall. For Easterners, this height is very good, even stronger than some Westerners. This surprised Natasha a bit. Amazed that Lin E could be so tall, amazed that he could easily call out her name. Natasha appears here because she is aware that the identity of this man named Lin E is not simple. What she cares more about is how much he knows about her than the other person knowing her name. Under the gaze of men and women in the bar, they walked out into the empty alley. Natasha leaned slightly, and a pocket-sized pistol suddenly pressed against Lin Yi's eyebrows. "How much do you really know?" Natasha frowned and pressed the muzzle closer, ready to pull the trigger at any moment. "How much do you know?" Even though it may seem very close to the Grim Reaper now, Lin Yi smiled unaffected and said, "All, your past, present, and future." "Nonsense. Although I don't know exactly where you got the news from, since you know I'm going to steal Stark's Red Storm technology, then I definitely won't let you live." As the words fell, Natasha pulled the trigger without hesitation. Result: the object that was supposed to be hit suddenly appeared behind her. I hugged her with one hand from behind and pinched her pistol with the other. It's like encountering extreme high temperatures. The pistol quickly dissolved, and if it weren't for Natasha's quick release, it would probably have burned her hand directly. "Dear Natasha, before you take action, you need to know how powerful the person you want to deal with is, otherwise you will be ruining yourself. What you posted online was intentionally luring me over." Natasha tried to struggle, but found herself unable to break free. In the end, she chose to give up and spoke fiercely. "No, believe me, I'm just casually saying it," Lin Yi said, seeming to find it very interesting. "Tony Stark is a very interesting man, and I've always wanted to become friends with him, but it's a bit difficult. So, I said a lot of things, not just yours, but also others, but only you were the first to find me. In this regard, I just want to say one thing: you're impulsive, dear. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 2. Getting rich by raising pigs is also quite impressive. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lin Yi is not from this world. When Lin Yi was very young, his family used to raise pigs in the countryside. After demolishing several rural houses, his father expanded the pig farming industry and accidentally became a big pig farmer. After Lin Yi turned 20, the pigs he raised and the cut pork were almost scattered on tables across the country. And Lin Yi also became a truly wealthy second generation due to his father's relationship. However, in those families with rich backgrounds, they are only considered nouveau riche and even looked down upon by those wealthy people. However, Lin Yi doesn't care about these things. He only cares that he is a wealthy person and can use this money to do anything he likes. Moreover, he possesses the art of mind reading. And this ability allows him to quickly understand the temperament and other aspects of his partner. Even in the end, he knew more and more, and went further and further. With just a few words, the wealthy people immediately delivered the money to him. Dad said he didn't work hard and would eventually die on his own lips. And as my father said, he was attacked. After all, there are always those people in this world who are afraid that others will know what dirty things they are doing. Lin Yi is not wrong in doing what he likes, but what is wrong is that he lacks the ability to protect himself, yet he is overly high profile. He's dead. Die by one's own carelessness. When he realized his situation, he accepted it very calmly. At the same time, I secretly felt fortunate that my family was from the countryside and had many children. My parents were in pain for a while, and my siblings at home were able to heal their wounds. He thought he would go to the underworld after his death, but he didn't expect to end up in the Marvel world. When standing on the streets of New York wearing thin clothes, there was no trace of the gunshot on his body. Noticing this, he felt a bit dazed. At this moment, on the huge screen on the street, while Tony Stark was vigorously promoting Stark Enterprises, Lin Yi pinched his face and felt a lot of pain. Obviously not a dream. When did you realize that you not only have the pre-existing mind reading skills, but also have the ability to replicate them? When he sat on a chair by the street and was approached by a foreign girl with short black hair, they spent a wonderful night together. Lin Yi found himself suddenly learning everything a lawyer should know. And the person who spent the wonderful night with him was a lawyer who was somewhat famous in New York. Afterwards, Lin Yi wandered between various women. And among these women, there are a few who possess special abilities and are not important characters in Marvel. Their abilities are not strong, but they are better than none. After some experiments, he also realized that it was not necessary to have in-depth communication. Even if it's just a handshake, hug, or even accidental touch, it's okay. In less than a month since arriving at Marvel World, Lin Yi has been enthusiastic about making friends everywhere and has fully developed the ability to protect himself. Of course. I see Tony Stark on TV every day. What he most wants is the other person's ability. The technician's strength is extraordinary, but he still prefers the other party's earning ability. Watching the other party squander money everywhere, earning much more than spending, is really enviable. However, he couldn't get close. That man is always surrounded by many people. He has to think carefully about a solution. Just as Lin Yi was thinking about these things, Natasha snorted coldly, "Do you want to become friends with Tony Stark? I don't think a man like you really thinks that way in his heart." At this moment, they are still in the empty alley. Natasha's questioning voice directly reached Lin Yi, and at the same time, it quickly brought Lin Yi back to his senses. It's normal for you to have such doubts. There are many people who want to get close to Tony Stark, and each person's purpose is different. Of course, I also have a purpose, but no matter what the purpose is, my idea of becoming friends with him is definitely sincere. I don't care about that. Well, I don't care what's on your mind either, but... Dear Natasha, you're really charming, even more charming than I imagined. Do you want to go home with me today? Lin Yi smiled and said, "Of course, you can also refuse, so. Do you want to refuse?" Lin Yi held Natasha tightly in his arms and rubbed her chin with his fingers. Natasha's face was ugly and she wanted to refuse. Just as the words of refusal had just begun to speak, suddenly a thought surged up at this moment. "What can I get if I go home with you?" Natasha asked. "No one can force me to do things I don't like, but I can answer some of your questions, and the answers to these questions are enough to make some right decisions. Believe me, everything is definitely worth it." Lin Yi's words seemed to have an inexplicable magic, tempting Natasha to unconsciously believe his words. Just as Natasha was about to open her mouth to express her attitude, suddenly a black luxury car parked near the roadside came down, and a beautiful woman dressed in elite attire walked gracefully towards Lin Yi and Natasha. Looking at the ambiguous positions of the two, she smiled with a hint of apology and said, "Mr. Lin, I'm sorry to bother you and this lady. My name is Pepper Potts, and my boss Tony Stark wants to see you. Are you available now? Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 3. A win-win collaboration with Tony Stark. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Today is really a nice day, meeting two rare beauties. Lin Yi looked at Natasha in his arms and then at Pepper Potts not far away. In his original world, more people called the important woman around Iron Man Little Chili Pepper. And as I have seen with my own eyes, it is indeed very spicy. Even if the other party is dressed properly, it can still show people how good the figure under the white lady's suit is. I have always wanted to meet Mr. Tony Stark. He is a very witty, humorous, and tasteful man. I think we will get along very well. Pepper Potts pursed his lips slightly and said, "So, now, are you leaving?" As he spoke, Pepper Potts turned over and asked Lin Yi if he was leaving now. "Of course, but please let me say our final goodbye to this beautiful lady. After all, we were supposed to have a very wonderful night." Lin Yi opened his mouth with a smile. Peppold shrugged his shoulders and without any further ado, turned around and returned to the car. The car door is not closed, which means she will wait there. After Lin Yi noticed this, the smile on his lips deepened a lot. He released Natasha. It seems that we can only temporarily separate tonight. Here is my business card. If you miss me, please feel free to contact me by phone at any time. Of course, you can also go directly to my house. I am always more generous with women. Speaking, she took out a backup key and placed it in Natasha's hand. Natasha looked at the business card and backup key in her hand and was speechless for a moment. Are you always so generous with women? Natasha couldn't hear the specific emotions in her voice when she said these words. Of course not, you are the woman who gives the keys to my family. After all, you are different to me, although you will not be the last one. Lin Yi smiled and said the most humble words. You really make people want to beat you up. Natasha let out a cold snort. If you want to beat me up, I'll raise my hands to welcome you, but I advise you not to do this. After all, it will only be you who gets hurt. Lin Yi continued with a smile. You are too confident in yourself. After Natasha finished speaking, she glanced at the black luxury car parked on the roadside not far away. Lin Yi's attitude has become very obvious. He gave up on her and chose to meet Tony Stark. His purpose in approaching Tony Stark is definitely not simple. Perhaps now is a very good opportunity for her to go to his house and carefully search. You can find his true purpose from it to suppress this man. What Natasha was thinking in her heart was clear to Lin Yi, and she even found it very interesting. The characters on Marvel World are extremely interesting compared to ordinary people who think about what to eat every day and feel tired from work. He believes that getting close to Tony Stark and these people on the Marvel World will definitely make his future life rich and colorful. He has no great idea of saving the world, but please allow a small person to have a mentality of watching the excitement up close. Of course it's best to use money to corrode him, so that he can lie flat and watch the excitement. 10 minutes later. Lin Yi, who was riding in a luxurious black car, was taken directly to a luxurious villa by Pepper Potts. Everything here is high-tech. Being in it is like living again in another world. It's very interesting. It seems that Mr. Lin is very interested in these high-tech technologies. As Lin Yi scrutinized these, Tony Stark had already walked out of his laboratory. Lin Yi responded with a smile, when I was a child, I thought that as a man, if I couldn't buy products from Stark Industries, it would definitely be a great regret in life. I do love these high-tech things, but compared to them, I prefer alcohol, money, and beauty. After all, no matter how much people this generation do, isn't it all for enjoyment? After listening to Lin Yi's words, Tony Stark smiled. He poured a glass of whiskey and handed it directly to Lin Yi, saying, although it's our first time meeting, I have to say, maybe we'll get along very well. After a few drinks, the two of them became intoxicated, and it was also a very suitable time for conversation. Tony Stark raised his hand and waved towards Pepper Potts. Pepper Potts immediately understood his meaning and left, while giving the space for conversation directly to Lin Yi and Tony Stark. You are a person who understands people's hearts very well, and also a knowledgeable person. It seems that you can chat about anything. The website you created called Gossip Every Day is very interesting. I found someone to check and found that 80% of it is true, and the remaining 20% needs to be verified, but I think. Tony Stark paused and said, that 20% is probably true. The reason why the website I created can be known by many people in a short period of time is because I only tell the truth, and I can completely do what I don't want to say. Lin Yi made a zipper movement, which means that he could avoid saying anything he didn't want to say. After he finished this action, Lin Yi and Tony Stark looked at each other and burst into laughter at the same time. After laughing for a while, Tony Stark spoke again, you know about the 10 Commandments gang, you know I was once arrested by them, and even know about Ethan. To be honest, if it weren't for the fact that I never saw you in my memory, I would think you had seen those things with your own eyes, and even you were a member of the 10 Commandments gang. When Tony Stark spoke this time, there was a hint of seriousness in his tone. When I asked to see you, Pepper. Ah, it was Pepper Potts who strongly opposed you because we couldn't judge whether you were good or bad for us. In the end, I insisted, which is why this meeting happened. Tony Stark spoke these words with a very candid tone. And Lin E also became serious. He put down his glass in his hand and said, Mr. Tony, please believe that I have no ill intentions towards you, and I am also a very principled person. I will not bring any trouble to this country, I just like to watch the excitement, that's all. I hope to meet you, and I just want to talk about a cooperation with you. It is definitely a win-win situation for cooperation. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 4. Others' gossip is just gossip, his gossip. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In Tony Stark's luxurious villa, Lin E talked to the other party for a long time. It wasn't until midnight that certain matters were finally settled. Both of them are very excited. And this night, apart from each other, no one knew exactly what they were talking about. I hope we have a pleasant cooperation in the future. Lin E reached out his hand and took the initiative to grab Tony Stark. I hope you are still alive during our collaboration. Tony Stark is not cursing Lin E, but a very sincere blessing. After all, what Lin E wants to do next is to run wildly on the path of death. It is possible to lose one's life at any time. This is our first collaboration funding. Tony Stark called Lin E 2 million. Not a lot, but if we can see results later on, I will add more funds. In fact, just a few 100,000 yuan is enough for him to maintain the operation of the website, but if the other party is willing to give him more money, there is no reason not to accept it. In the future, more people will give money. Thinking of this, Lin E was even more joyful. After a brief farewell, Lin E and Tony Stark left. Lin Yi's home in New York is a 200 square meter 2-story small standalone building. Although he only lives alone, because he is a habitual enjoyment, the home is decorated very warmly. Today, after returning home, he clearly felt traces of someone moving inside the house. There is even a faint fragrance floating in the air. Lin E has been sleeping with many women in Marvel World for less than a month. No woman was brought home. And this familiar aroma was still smelled not long ago. It's Natasha. Dear Natasha. Lin E smiled and called out. After not hearing a response, he searched for it and confirmed that it was indeed not there before entering the bathroom to wash it. While taking a shower, I couldn't help but think of Natasha's angelic face in my mind. She's such a cute and charming girl. Does she think I'll just leave important things at home? As long as I think of Natasha flipping around, I can't find any useful information in the end, and can only leave feeling lost. The smile on Lin Yi's lips grew deeper and deeper. Today is really a wonderful day. Lin Yi couldn't help but think to himself. Encountering the main characters in the Marvel storyline, the excitement constantly stimulated the brain, which was much stronger than the feeling of a sleeping woman. Glancing at the time, it was already 3 o'clock in the morning. But he just feels a little drowsy. Not only was there no drowsiness at all, but the strong excitement made him unable to resist wanting to get into trouble. He didn't hesitate at all and almost reached the study at the fastest speed. He opened the computer and tapped it with a clattering sound. He shared several new gossip articles on his website. Gossip 1. A company in New York City evaded taxes and one of its executives killed his wife and daughter. Lin E posted the data of the other company's tax evasion, the identity of this senior executive, and the identities of the murdered wife and daughter in the most prominent positions. Gossip 2. A delivery man at KFC has unclean hands and feet. He looks like he has a serious job, but in reality, he is doing petty theft. Lin E retrieved the other person's identity photo and posted it in the life section of the website. Gossip 3. The Soviet government's secret agency had a secret base that trained female orphans to become spies and assigned them to various countries to carry out missions. For this, Lin E decided to post it after careful consideration, but what he posted were only photos of deceased female spies, rather than those currently on missions, such as Natasha. These female spies are treated as ordinary deaths when they die, because their identities span a wide range, including painters, musicians, and even some ordinary housewives. Gossip 4. A general from a certain country is planning to become a super soldier while pursuing a white man. Lin E concluded by saying that if this white person needs help, he can give the other person some help. Bagua 5. Lin E exploded with more than a dozen rumors in one night. I kept tinkering until 6:00 in the morning, and it was only then that the drowsiness gradually engulfed my whole body. He yawned several times in a row, regardless of how much sensation these dozen or so rumors would cause in various countries. He climbed onto the bed, covered himself with a blanket, and fell asleep so deeply. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 5. As long as you don't die, then go crazy and die. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At 8 o'clock in the morning, almost everyone had already started a new day with great energy. Many people are very interested in the latest gossip websites. It can even be said that this is their spiritual nourishment, the driving force for their daily work, life, and study. Therefore, every day, almost every corner of the world can be seen whispering about the content posted by this website. Oh my goodness, did you guys watch today's gossip? It's so shocking to me. I work in the neighboring building where I've been evading taxes. I saw a police officer coming to my door early in the morning, and a wanted criminal trying to escape was shot dead on the spot. Sleeping trough. Then you must be scared a lot. Of course I was scared, I even locked the store door directly. There is a very gentle woman next door to us. She accidentally fell into the river last year and saw her husband crying so badly. It was only today that I discovered on the gossip website that she was actually a spy. People don't judge by their appearance, they are really scared. While ordinary people are discussing these things, the artificial intelligence created by Tony Stark, Jarvis, is currently urging the drunken Tony Stark to wake up. Tony, something big is happening, wake up. Tony Stark flipped over and tightly covered his ears with a pillow. Tony. 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 Jarvis's mechanical voice almost pierced Tony Stark's brain. That's enough. Jarvis, you're just an artificial intelligence, don't keep pushing like a woman. Tony Stark sat up angrily and casually threw the pillow in his hand to the ground, venting his waking frustration. Tony, it's you who keeps me updated on Lin Yi's gossip website. Since 3 a.m. last night, the website has been constantly updating, and these contents have even caught the attention of high-level officials from several countries. Jarvis explained calmly in his tone. Tony Stark was originally feeling a bit depressed, but under Jarvis' explanation, he didn't care about the rest. He quickly got up to wash up and then turned on the computer. Pepoltz placed a delicious sandwich and a glass of milk on his right side. Thank you. Tony Stark expressed his gratitude without lifting his head, quickly browsing through gossip websites to see what caused a sensation. On one side, she was browsing carefully, while on the other side, Natasha, who was constantly paying attention to Lin E, saw a noticeable change in her face as she carefully read the content he posted. Where exactly did this guy know all this from? Are you crazy? Daring to publish such content is clearly seeking death. Natasha has been watching these things intently. Although Lin Yi deliberately concealed some things, for those familiar with the situation inside, these concealments are equivalent to no concealment at all. She took a deep breath. Without even thinking much, he hurried towards Lin Yi's house. She made a very simple disguise. The loose gray jumpsuit concealed her particularly striking appearance. Along the way, she always felt particularly unsafe. When she arrived at Lin Yi's doorstep, she took out a spare key and entered the room directly. The room still looks as warm as when I came in last night. She looked around. People are not here. Is it upstairs? Natasha looked up at the direction upstairs, and then quickly but with particularly light footsteps, she went upstairs. She carefully opened the study first. The study was a bit messy and visible. Someone had stayed here for a while before, but Natasha carefully walked over. All of them were various materials. Natasha casually opened them a few times, pursed her lips, put them down, and left the study. She opened the bedroom. In the bedroom, Lin Yi was lying on his back, heartless and carefree. His sleeping posture was very peaceful, with flaws all over his body. If she still had the idea of killing him now, Natasha felt that the other party had no possibility of avoiding him. That's not necessarily true. Lin Yi opened his eyes and sat up with a yawn, looking at Natasha. Natasha was startled and said, "Are you not asleep? I used to sleep well, but after you entered the house, you really made a noise." Lin Yi said that Natasha's psychological activities are too rich, but Natasha thought that Lin Yi's ability could clearly hear the sound she made after entering the room. The misunderstanding arose invisibly like this. And Natasha didn't care about anything strange when she just met Lin Yi. She only cares about one thing now. How many lives do you think you have? Some things you publish are beneficial to this city and won't have a significant impact on others, but some things once you publish will take your life. Those people. Those agents disguised as various identities, their identities are classified. Except for internal personnel. No, even internal personnel may not be very clear, but you know these things like the back of your hand. You are now enemies with the country. Natasha's beautiful face was filled with disapproval. However, Lin Yi only lazily said, "You're right, but as a small person, how can I meet those extraordinary people if I don't do that?" Lin Yi smiled somewhat indifferently and said, "Don't worry, I have also considered doing these things a bit. Besides, my appearance seems to be killing me, but in fact I just want to become stronger. Soon, I will have an immortal body. Hulk, Wolverine, Death Attendant, Evil Spirit Knight. Besides Tony Stark's wealth, what he covets the most is the abilities of these individuals. As long as he doesn't die, he can go crazy and die. Apart from money, there is nothing more appealing to him than immortality. Therefore, he wants to use various ways to attract these people to come to his door voluntarily. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 6. Natasha, the action will fail anyway, go ahead. You are listening at novelfull.audio. For what Lin Yi said, Natasha only felt that he was having a wild idea. You will regret it because you made an incredibly foolish decision. Natasha knew that no matter how much she said at this moment, if Lin Yi didn't want to listen, it would have no effect in the future. And so far, she doesn't understand why she has to put in so much effort for a man she has only known for a few hours. Perhaps making such a decision may seem foolish to others, but it's interesting, isn't it? Lin Yi touched his chin and spoke slowly, as if thinking of something. In the past, you had dealt with Logan, can you still get in touch now? Logan. Although we were just discussing other things, Lin Yi suddenly changed the topic. The name Lin Yi uttered made her feel a bit dazed. I always felt that the name Logan was familiar and unfamiliar. After hesitating for a while, she slowly spoke up. Uncle. We haven't been in contact for a long time, why do you know? Ah, you must say you know everything about my past, right? He has helped me a lot. If it weren't for him, I might have died a long time ago. I don't know where he is now, and even if I knew, I wouldn't tell you. You look a bit malicious. As Natasha spoke these words, her gaze remained fixed on Lin Yi. She did feel that the other person's appearance looked a bit off. Natasha, although we haven't known each other for a long time, you've been misunderstanding me all along. I've only heard of Logan and really admire him. It feels like facing Tony Stark. Ah, when it comes to Tony, is it okay not to do your task? To be honest, your action this time will definitely fail, so it's better to give up early. Natasha. She really didn't understand what was going on with Lin Yi as a man, and why he could directly shift from the initial question to this matter. Sorry, Natasha. Although chatting with you was a very pleasant thing, I didn't go to bed until 6 in the morning and it's only around 9 o'clock now. Maybe I should sleep a little longer, or... Lin Yi approached Natasha with a smile and raised his hand to touch her smooth cheeks, saying, we can continue with what happened last night. Although I'm tired, I still have some physical strength. You. Natasha is both shy and angry. At the same time, I once again felt in my heart that coming here today was indeed a very wrong decision. However, as Lin Yi's slightly cold fingertips caressed her face, she suddenly felt as if she had found a harbor to dock in. She was really tired when she went there. Okay. Natasha didn't dodge Lin Yi's hand, and even rubbed against his palm. And everything that happened next was simply going with the flow. After a period of vigorous exercise and going to bed, it seems that even the quality of sleep has improved significantly. When he woke up again, Lin Yi had completely become energetic. He glanced at Natasha, who was still asleep beside him, touched her soft hair, and then got out of bed and left the room very lightly. If Natasha were sober now, she would definitely be very shocked. Some of Lin Yi's movements are not much different from hers, and it looks like she has undergone the same training. Of course. Because she is currently asleep, she has not seen such a scene at all, and naturally does not know about certain things. Lin Yi left the room and went downstairs to make a simple Chinese meal and dinner. Tomatoes, eggs, sliced beef, and seaweed soup. He quickly completed these tasks, dividing the food into 2 parts. After finishing his own part, he put the other part into the incubator. After finishing these, he wrote a note. Returning to the room, he placed the note next to Natasha. After confirming that there were no omissions, he entered the study and logged onto the gossip website he managed. The website has clearly suffered hundreds of attacks. However, his protective shield is done very well and has not been tracked down by several unknown forces. Not bad, with Tony Stark's technology and intelligence, just a simple network protection shield, effortless. Plus the other party's financial support. Lin Yi spent a little more than before. I spent a whopping 50,000 yuan. Just a little thought will still be a little distressed. However, even if it is a heartache, all the expenses are worth it. Do you really think he only remembered to gossip last night? 1 hour of gossip is enough, most of the information has been sorted out, and most of the content has been edited. At best, it's just a little bit of tidying up and then posting it. Most of the time, he has been editing a protective shield. Haha. Those guys may not have thought of it, right? Even Lin Yi was able to trace back to those forces. Lin Yi tapped his fingers very quickly on the keyboard, only taking a brief glance before exiting with enthusiasm and entering the website's mailbox. Threatened statements include. There are also praises without objection. There are also comments that want Lin Yi to expose some people's affairs. There are also requests for cheating and catching mistresses. Lin Yi quickly browsed through. Until I saw a distress letter that erased the source. Lin Yi slightly raised his eyebrows, and a hint of playfulness appeared on his handsome face. Bruce Banner. Finally waiting for you. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 7. Bruce Banner's Persuasion is truly likable. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Contact address, and there is also an anti-tracking program. After organizing it, Lin Yi directly packed it and sent it over via email. In the harsh living environment of the slums, there is a dilapidated house. Since sending a distress letter, Bruce Banner, a particularly thin-looking white man, has been anxiously waiting for a response. Almost every few minutes, he couldn't help but check the information. As soon as he saw that there was no response, he couldn't help but nervously rub his hands. But at first glance, only a few short minutes have passed. He knew that waiting anxiously like this would only make his emotions start to lose control. And once it gets out of control, something very scary will happen. So he took a deep breath and worked hard to calm his mood. During this process, he finally received a response from the operator of the gossip website. When Bruce Bennett carefully read the content of the reply letter, he truly felt at ease and was also extremely happy. That's great, that's really great. If it's really like what this man said, then I don't have to hide and seek anymore in the future. Bruce Banner has been on the run for many years to escape pursuit. No one wants to be like a mouse in the sewer, unable to see light and constantly feeling scared and fearful every day. Even if there is any disturbance, it is necessary to relocate. Now I finally have the opportunity to get rid of this kind of life. So, even if he gives everything, he is willing to give it a try. After making such a decision in his heart, Bruce Banner wrote a thank you letter and immediately began packing up his things. He now plans to leave here and move on to the next place. On this side of the slum, while the military had already begun to lock in and prepare for action, Bruce Banner left early. And all of this is just because of a letter from Lin Yi. Here, Lin Yi received a thank you letter from Bruce Banner, knowing that he had taken action and was extremely satisfied. I like this kind of listening to advice. Perhaps because the other party is already in a desperate state, even if they have doubts about him, they still hold an attitude of wanting to try, but Natasha's stubborn woman is still very different. Thinking of this, Lin Yi shook his head helplessly and then focused his gaze again on the information in the background, sorting out the more useful ones. After being immersed in various gossip information for a long time, Lin Yi found that the sky outside had actually darkened again. Glancing at the time. It's almost 8 o'clock in the evening. He stopped typing on the keyboard, sorted out the information on the table for a while, and then left the study. I didn't see Natasha's figure in the room or downstairs. However, the food in the insulated box downstairs has already been used, and the bowls and chopsticks have been cleaned and placed back where they should have been. Once Lin Yi is immersed in things he likes, his focus will always be more concentrated. If it weren't for major disturbances or critical situations, he would have basically ignored them. Now it seems that Natasha left when he was focused on his work. After confirming the situation roughly, Lin Yi then exercised his fingers and somewhat stiff body, and decided to go out for a night run. I changed into sportswear. Lin Yi left the house. He jogged along the remote area. Quickly, he felt someone following behind him. The quantity should be 3 people. Ordinary people. It should just be a street thug. They followed behind, but just wanted to rob him. Lin Yi was too lazy to waste time with these insignificant people, so he went into hiding and continued jogging. Most of the abilities Lin Yi acquired were small abilities, but they had a significant effect in avoiding trouble. The only powerful ability is probably obtained from Natasha and Tony Stark. Lin Yi will not dislike the small abilities he has acquired before. Properly used, it really helps a lot in daily life. Obviously Lin Yi was able to avoid trouble, but the person who was following and trying to rob was scared enough. My God, you really hit a ghost. Hurry up, it's not safe here. I think tonight we need to go back and rest well, it's not a good time to come out. A few people turned around and almost immediately ran away. Although there was no pursuit behind them, they felt as if there were fierce demons chasing them. In fact, Lin Yi, who was in an invisible state, had already run away and appeared on streets with slightly more foot traffic. He lifted his invisibility in an unnoticed place, starting from jogging to walking slowly. Passing by a supermarket. He bought a bottle of sour plum drink from inside and sat on a chair by the street, looking at Tony Stark chatting on the screen. Looking at it this way, it's like going back to the first day when I appeared in this world. Tony Stark is the most eye-catching presence in this city, especially with his steel armor already appearing in the public eye. No matter who, they all want to interview him and get first-hand information. And he obviously enjoys being noticed very much, always appearing everywhere. He is a natural protagonist. Lin Yi looked up at Tony Stark's interview on the screen, thinking with great interest. Tony Stark and most technicians are still very different. After all, most technicians are more focused on technology and not so enthusiastic about appearing in front of people. Just like Lin Yi himself, he also prefers to handle things alone. Dealing with things alone is a very interesting process. After dealing with these things, Lin Yi only found a woman to relax a bit or used an excuse to make some friends. Now, in retrospect, the latter can be temporarily omitted. Because now he only needs to make some special friends. After all, he has already started to interact with that group of people. While drinking a sour plum drink, I watched Tony Stark's interview. At around 10 o'clock in the evening, Lin Yi ran back home again. There is someone in the room. It was Natasha, whom Lin Yi thought should have left. Are you back again? After seeing Natasha, Lin Yi raised his eyebrows and asked. I'm just leaving temporarily, Lin Yi. I want to talk to you about a deal. Natasha sat on the sofa, speaking very seriously. Lin Yi took off his coat and sat opposite Natasha, speaking with some interest. Tell me, what did you think of during your time away, and what kind of deal are you planning to talk to me about? Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 8. He waiting for Natasha to walk step by step. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. You said before that you know a lot about me and can even answer some questions I want to know. Do you admit this? Natasha flicked her wine-red long hair and her beautiful eyes stared at Lin Yi without blinking. That's right, that's what I said, I admit it. Lin Yi had nothing to admit about what he had said, but looking at Natasha's happy expression, he still had to say something to dampen her current excitement. But I have principles, not everything I can answer. Principles, right. I looked at your gossip website and you know I'm also one of them, right? Natasha already had a definite answer to this in her mind. Lin Yi looked at her and said, you already know what the answer is, but I can say something more detailed, so you don't think I'm joking with you. Just like whether something is true or false, I think you can definitely distinguish it. After all, there are some contents that ordinary people like me should not know. For example, in order to make you loyal and to enable you to better utilize your beauty. In your mind. Lin Yi nodded as he spoke. It's implanted with the memory of a ballet dancer, and all of this is for the task. Although you are a spy, it is easy for you to develop feelings of attraction towards those who have helped you, such as Bucky, Alexei, and now me. You are a woman who lacks a sense of security. When Lin Yi said these words, he had been looking at Natasha all along. Even though she is now completely restrained, she hasn't even shown too much emotion. But the complex thoughts deep inside her still allowed Lin Yi to see her heart at a glance. And for what Lin Yi said, Natasha opened her mouth, but in the end she just said dryly, you're just talking nonsense. You may not admit it, but your heart will tell me that everything I say is true. Alright, besides this question, are there any other questions? Lin Yi opened his mouth to inquire. If you really know a lot of things, do you think Tony Stark will be confused by me? Although Natasha was not trying to say that before, she didn't know why she said it. Of course, you are very beautiful. As long as you use some small means, there are hardly any men in this world who can escape your palm, and I am no exception. Lin Yi shrugged his shoulders, and then the tone quickly changed. But don't treat men like fools, especially smart men. Even if you are confused by your beauty, it does not mean that you will succeed. I know you still want to try Stark Enterprises. Failure means failure, and there will be no change in this matter. You have a cooperative relationship with Tony Stark, are you so certain because you will tell him my identity? Natasha looked at Lin Yi with a clear suspicion in her eyes. Even if I don't say anything, you will definitely fail. Lin Yi looked at Natasha again with great certainty. I don't believe it. Natasha looked at Lin Yi's affirmative tone and ultimately said the same thing. Lin Yi has long been aware that convincing Natasha is not an easy task, as she is very different from Bruce Banner. She still has a choice now, but Bruce Banner can almost be said to have reached a dead end. Lin Yi smiled at Natasha without attempting to dissuade her. He waited to see Natasha walking towards him step by step. He thought that such a process would definitely be very interesting. Just do what you want to do, don't worry, I won't say anything. In the end, Lin Yi smiled and looked at Natasha, making the final conclusion about such a thing. At night, after two people had a heart-to-heart conversation, they naturally spent a beautiful night again. The next day, Natasha followed her original plan and went to Stark Enterprises for an interview. Her goal is Tony Stark's personal life assistant. After all, Tony Stark's former personal life assistant, Pepper Potts, will soon be appointed as the CEO of Stark Enterprises. She will be very busy in the coming days, but she can no longer take care of Tony Stark's life. After Natasha successfully passed the interview, she almost couldn't wait to call Lin Yi to show off. Although Lin Yi deliberately suppressed himself while listening to the other end of the phone, he still had a small proud voice, truly feeling that Natasha was very cute. So, should I make you a sumptuous feast to celebrate? Lin Yi teased Natasha at the other end of the phone after she showed off. Of course we need to celebrate, but let's keep this feast for the day when I truly succeed. After Natasha finished speaking, she took the initiative to hang up the phone, and after hanging up, her mood remained good until her superiors contacted her. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 9. Natasha starts to keep an eye on people. Seeking fresh flowers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Natasha has been very strange lately, always habitually staring at Lin Yi with an affectionate expression, no matter when. Of course, this is in the eyes of others. However, in front of Lin Yi, Natasha's behavior was completely justified. While Natasha was staring at him, Lin Yi didn't even need to look too much and knew clearly that it was all because Natasha's superiors had given orders. Just a face-to-face encounter, Natasha took the initiative to expose all of this. The first one is to urge Natasha to quickly approach Tony Stark to complete the task. The second one is related to him, approaching him, obtaining various channels for him to obtain information, or checking if there are other people behind him. The rest were all Natasha's own miscellaneous thoughts, and Lin Yi did not put too much effort into these chaotic thoughts. After knowing what she was most concerned about now, Lin Yi allowed Natasha to act on her own. And Natasha has also become particularly clingy during this period, always appearing by his side in various ways. Of course, the reality is that as long as Natasha gets a little closer to herself, Lin Yi already knows that the other person has appeared. At first, Lin Yi didn't really take it too seriously, but when Natasha tried to peek at him while he was taking a shower or using the restroom, Lin Yi felt helpless and wanted to sigh. Natasha, even if you want to get some news from here, you can't get anything just by staring at it like this. I know. For Lin Yi's statement, Natasha chose this kind of reply directly. Although it was an order given by her superiors, there was also a vague idea in her mind that she could not obtain any information, but she still acted in this way. And during the observation of Lin Yi, she found that he is a very planned and emotionally stable person. I understand, you're just curious about me. Because Natasha's current thoughts were too strongly related, Lin Yi almost immediately understood what was currently on her mind. Originally, there was still some helplessness, but now that he has figured out why the other party has such a thought in their mind, Lin Yi no longer cares about what she needs to do next. In the following days, Lin Yi lived a very peaceful life. Although maintaining the gossip network to ensure its normal operation, and even avoiding Natasha while doing these things, Natasha still hasn't understood how Lin Yi can determine which information collected from the network is correct and which is wrong. She is really curious about this. Watching Lin Yi focus on his work and not as usual, as long as she thinks a little, he can immediately answer. So she took the initiative to say, Lin Yi, how can you determine which information is useful and which is useless? Lin Yi stopped his work and paused for a moment, unsure of how to explain it. He couldn't tell Natasha that he had the ability to replicate, and that all his professional skills, special abilities, and so on were fused together by him, completely becoming his innate ability. Can we even judge without much thought? Lin Yi pinched his chin with his fingers, pondered carefully, and answered seriously, detective, profile writer, hacker, and other professional skills. Natasha. I feel like I didn't understand. And just as they were discussing these things, Lin Yi received a call from Tony Stark. It's inviting him to a banquet at Stark Enterprises. I know this, it seems to be Mr. Tony Stark's exhibition on steel armor, and he invited many people. At the same time, there is also the official handover of CEO Pepper Potts. The originally scheduled time was 1 month later, but for some reason, suddenly everything was moved forward. When talking about this matter, Natasha seemed somewhat puzzled. Are you going to accompany me as my girlfriend, or are you busy in Stark as a company employee? Lin Yi looked at Natasha with a smile on his face. If I'm not mistaken, at the beginning, Natasha wanted to use her beauty to approach Tony Stark. I will follow the company's arrangements, and I know what you're thinking. Even if you don't use beauty, I can get everything you want smoothly. Moreover, Natasha no longer wants to approach her target in this way, nor does she want to be underestimated by Lin Yi. In the past, I never cared about these things. Soon, we arrived at the day of the Stark exhibition. It's really lively. Tony Stark was almost surrounded by many people around him, but when he saw Lin Yi appear, he still came over to personally entertain him. The cautious attitude towards him surprised those familiar with Tony Stark. Some journalists even took many photos in the direction of Lin Yi. Do you mind being photographed? If you don't like it, I will find someone to buy all the photos that the journalists have on hand. The flash for the photo was very obvious, Tony Stark said to Lin Yi after taking a glance. If you're not worried about encountering some trouble, even if you keep these photos, it doesn't matter. Lin Yi shrugged nonchalantly. I, Tony Stark, have never been afraid of anything troublesome, and it's only me who causes trouble for others, While they were discussing these things, Pepoltz and Natasha, who were not far away, had already walked over. Do you need me to introduce you to you? Tony Stark asked. No need, I have met Mr. Lin before, and Natalie's relationship with Mr. Lin is extraordinary. Pepper Potts walked over and slowly spoke, while also showing a faint smile, full of humor. Natalie. Well, we are indeed very familiar with each other. Lin Yi's gaze fell on Natasha and did not deny this matter. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 10. Beautiful women can be bites. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Tony Stark heard Lin Yi talk about knowing Natasha, and his gaze kept wandering between Lin Yi and Natasha. Immediately, he quickly placed his hand on Lin Yi's shoulder and pulled him aside to speak. When someone wanted to approach, he raised his hand to stop them from approaching. After confirming that no one would eavesdrop on the conversation between the two, he lowered his voice and said, "Lin Yi, I have checked. Although the woman's identity seems impeccable and there is nothing suspicious about her, she still has flaws. Her identity is not average, and I suspect she is very likely someone sent by my opponent." Regarding Tony Stark's suspicion of Natasha's identity, Lin Yi did not find it surprising. However, when the other party found out that Natasha's identity was different, it was much earlier than expected, which surprised him a bit. "She's very charming, isn't she?" Lin Yi glanced at Natasha not far away and smiled. "Of course, she is very charming. But even the most beautiful woman is just a little adjustment in life. If she has unnecessary thoughts, she is like a venomous snake that will bite you at any time. They are deadly." Tony Stark was very serious in persuading. His worried emotions were so obvious, it was obvious that the other party really treated Lin Yi as a friend, although they didn't know each other for very long. Lin Yi patted Tony Stark's shoulder and said, "Don't forget what I do. Although I started a gossip website, I'm actually an intelligence worker. I knew her identity from the beginning, and the reason why I didn't hesitate to date her was because I knew she had no ill intentions towards me. By the way, in return for your reminder this time, Tony, do you know about Nick Fry?" Lin Yi mentioned it. For what Lin Yi mentioned, Tony Stark felt very strange. Of course, he is a government official, and because of his one-eyed relationship, he is quite eye-catching. But although it is like this, he usually behaves quite low-key and doesn't have anything special. Why did you suddenly mention him? Didn't he say he wanted to repay you? He has an inheritance belonging to your father, which is a model of a new element. It is so important to you. Believe me, if I don't continue, you should understand now. Alright. Things are not as bad as you think. You are God's darling. Sometimes it may seem like you are on a dead end, but you can always make a comeback." Suddenly hearing such news from Lin Yi's mouth made Tony Stark feel dazed. He certainly did not doubt this friend whom he had only recently met. For this person who has no past and appears almost out of thin air, he has a strong curiosity. Even this man's experience of starting from scratch is admirable to him. Lin Yi seems to be a man who loves money very much, but in reality, he doesn't spend much. If we talk about spending the most money, it's probably that gossip website. He doesn't seem to have much pursuit of famous cars or brands. His expenses can be said to be very low, sometimes even lower than what an ordinary person spends. He seemed somewhat lascivious, and in a short period of time, his number of women was no less than his own, but he also seemed somewhat ruthless. Those women didn't even have the opportunity to enter his house. Unlike myself, I occasionally bring back women who feel good. Anyway, after seeing it a few times, Tony Stark still didn't know what was most important in Lin Yi's heart. "I transferred 1 billion yuan to you, although it has not been verified yet, you may have saved my life, and my life is very valuable." Tony Stark was very generous in his actions. Lin Yi smiled and said, "I really like you more and more as a friend. Without further ado, the more friends who give money directly, the better. Alright, many people are waiting for you, so I won't disturb you anymore." Patted Tony Stark's shoulder again, and Lin Yi took the initiative to walk away. And originally, Natasha and Pepperpotts were standing together, but now, only Natasha is still watching from a distance, seemingly very curious about what they are talking about. Lin Yi hooked his lips and walked directly to Natasha's side. "Natasha, should you give up what you're doing now and come home with me?" When Lin Yi said this to Natasha, she quietly stared at him and then said with a sudden realization, "Damn it. Tony Stark already knows my identity. I didn't say anything. If you can really guess what's on my mind, then you know that I never doubted you in this matter. Natasha doesn't want to be misunderstood at all. Of course I know, so should I consider the matter of asking you to come home with me before? Lin Yi reached out to touch Natasha's wine-red long hair and said, I really like you, so what I say is very serious. I can't. Being together won't do you any good. Natasha remained silent for a long time. As Lin Yi's gaze focused on her seriously, she swore that in that moment, she was truly moved. But when she thought about the failed relationships in the past and her current identity, she knew that some things could not be done according to her own wishes. Her body, her thoughts, and everything she has belongs to the country, not to herself. Finally, under Lin Yi's gaze, she spoke dryly, sorry. After saying these words, she quickly moved away from the crowd. Tears flowed down the corner of her eyes, and Natasha suddenly realized that she had grown tired of her current life. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.